Who here finds it challenging or near impossible to attend their team meetings within their state?
Impossible?
Tell me.
Well, Alaska's got a lot of land area, so some locations for team meetings are a little farther than others.
Roger. So how many teams do you have, Sarn?
3.
3 teams. Okay. And they have meetings monthly? Something like that? Okay. So the biggest hurdle for you would be just the distance.
That's correct.
Now, how far are we talking here? That far?
Airplane. 2-hour flight.
Wow. Okay. So what are some ways that you can still attend?
Use my phone.
Boom. Boom. Utilize technology. Okay. Utilize technology. Absolutely. Absolutely. You want to jump in now, Sarn?
I just need to.
Go ahead. Come on, Sarn.
Man, you can cut that up if you want to. Hey, look, so housekeeping just called us. If your room is slightly dirty, or your clothes are on the floor, or let's say who dips in here? Nobody's dips, anybody smoked? Take either your dip or your smoke, throw the trash in another receptacle other than your room trash can, because they will say that you're dipping or smoking in your room, and now I have to counsel you for smoking in your room because you have either cigarettes or dip or whatever residue in your room. Also, they're not like hotel, Hilton house cleaning, so if your clothes or stuff are just scattered all over the floor, they'll call us and we'll have to do another counseling statement. So please, we had one silly issue. We had coffee on the wall, and they said it was dip, and there was dip canisters, even though he's not dipping. So that's why, I mean, it's me and Cartman, so it's serious. But please, it just keeps HAC and First Sergeant Coda out of our business, and they can do important stuff, and we can do more important stuff than me go check your room. So if you would this afternoon, just kind of pick up your stuff or whatever. And we got one more week, and y'all can be back to doing whatever y'all do. So sorry about that.
That's okay, Sarn. Cool.
Yeah.
Too easy. Right? Too easy. Okay. We rolling? Okay. So there are some situations where attending these meetings is going to be a challenge. Taking a 2-hour flight, probably not going to get approved by your command, probably, right? So what did you say? Some ways that you can still attend?
Through technology.
Technology. Great things about the smartphone. We don't have to even use Skype anymore. We can FaceTime call in. Maybe not as effective as actually attending the meeting, but at least they can show that you're putting in the effort to be a part of what they have going on. Any other challenges with attending the meetings? What about you, Sarn Reyes? You got a big state, Cali.
Yes, ma'am. We got 10 teams in the south and 8 teams in the north.
And how many marketing NCOs?
Well, now I just got my newly assigned one.
Cool.
My partner helped me out here, but it's still a task. I mean, we try to do it. We'll try to do our next attempt is going to try to do it regional.
Okay.
But in one region, that's over 80-some recruiters, and about 40 of them are probably not going to be paying attention when we do get the slides. I already have an issue just doing it to the RSCs and the NCOICs. I send out 3-4 emails of how to do things, and they'll ask again, hey, can you send that to me again?
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I started doing is I just started CCing the command on it.
Okay. And has that been effective?
Oh, yes, because
Okay.
I would respond to them in emails. I sent this to you before,
Okay.
and and then I feel bad for the recruiters, honestly, because
They're not getting
they're
the
not
information.
Yes, ma'am.
Roger. Okay. So kind of putting them on blast a little bit because they don't, I know a lot of recruiters do not value marketing as much as they should. It's just a known fact across the 54. It could be a lack of their education regarding marketing and advertising. They may not know what you all actually do. That's why I think it's very important that you all try to be involved in their team meetings in some form or fashion. And if need be, get your chain of command involved. Get your leaders involved. Because if you have the support of your higher leadership, they'll ensure that they get the message out to those NCOICs. Cool? Any other challenges with attending the meetings? Or any other good idea fairies that you all have had? In terms of meeting, you laughing over there. Do you have an effective communication with your RNCOs, would you say?
We are NCOs, not so much. I stay out of their business.
Okay.
Just because of the NCOICs, I got them.
Okay.
But, I will definitely communicate with the NCOICs. If there are NCOs don't get it, it's on their NCOICs, because I stay out of their business. They've got jobs to do, I've got a job to do. That's what their NCOICs are for.
Cool, so they know that you're there to support them.
Yes.
And your NCOICs, and you have that open
Now,
communication.
whether they use that or not, that's different. They're definitely there to throw you under the bus pretty quick.
Who's that? There are NCOs?
NCOICs.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what are some things that you could implement to kind of combat that? What about getting your leadership involved? Do you think that would help?
I put everything out in the Frago as well, and then
Okay.
I'll send it out to my NCOICs, so they've got double taps, so when they come back at it, the ops and my three already know that it was in the Frago, so they usually jump in pretty quick.
Okay. So it sounds like there's still a little bit of tension in certain states between marketing NCOs and our NCOs. But we all can do our due diligence to try to bridge that gap in communication and just ultimately letting our recruiters know that we're there to support them, not add more to their table, and ultimately making sure that they do things according to the standard. That's our job, right? Okay. Yes, Arn?
I was gonna say, yeah, we kind of had that same problem.
Okay.
They saw like us as E7s and they're E8s,
Roger.
but now we got an E8, and that was like the best thing, because now, it's not, the headbutting just went away.
They
It's
can
like
go
we-
toe to toe.
Yeah, we needed an E8 in marketing, and now it's done. So whatever he sends out, they're paying attention.
Roger. Okay. Yeah. Getting your leadership involved. Absolutely. Anything else? Any other comments? Yes, Aunt Barbara.
So what we'll do is we'll go out to our company annual training conference. Is that word, right? So go to our annual training, and we'll do a marketing presentation, and like we usually start the presentation just showing them all of our capabilities and
Okay.
trying to get their buy-in,
Right.
and keep them interested, and then we'll go through with the procedural type stuff.
So show them the oohs and ahs first,
Right.
and then, but you got to follow these guidelines.
Right.
Okay.
So just showing them our capabilities and limitations, and
Okay.
trying to get them to remember how to, but unfortunately, all too often they forget how to submit the requests and whatnot. So that's why we developed the marketing request SOP that Sergeant Seeley was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just another tool for us too, when they ask us the same question 5 times, we just forward that SOP and just keep hitting them with that SOP.
So eventually they're going to read it.
Right. Exactly.
That's the hope, right? Okay. Anything else? Yes, Arndt?
Yeah, so I'm the most senior enlisted person in the entire marketing department as an E6, right? So I've had still have a continuous issue with personality management, just as I did at the C level. So I involve everyone. Like, there's no secrets in recruiting, right? Like, the sergeant major is their direct supervisor, the commander is involved. Like, we get the results, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm probably not getting Christmas cards from my NCO, right? Being invited to their house for the 4th of July, but I'm accomplishing my mission. The system will accomplish their mission. It's the Army right source system built on accountability. So
Roger.
you're gonna be accountable, sergeant. So yeah. Not getting Christmas cards, but we're getting our job done. So
It's all right. At the end of the day, that's all that really
that's all
matters.
that matters, yeah.
You can file a hurt feelings report all you want to, but just keeping the RNCOs out of trouble and generating those leads, they can't be mad at that, right? Even if you got to throw some people under the bus, I mean, it's the results that matter. Okay, so we were talking about DOT, right? So Arkansas, raise your hand. Raise your hand, Arkansas. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so I'm going to give an example. A permit is required to transport items that are not within the following measurements. This is in Arkansas. If it has a width of 8 feet by 6 inches, a height of 13 feet by 6 inches, or a weight of 80,000 pounds, gross weight of a vehicle, and cargo on 5 or more axles, must meet the federal bridge formula for 80,000 pounds. You think that would be important? That's pretty detailed when it comes to DOT regulations. That's pretty detailed stuff. So for those states who have like stringent regulatory guidance, it's important that we do our due diligence to plan and prepare for that kind of stuff. All right, so we're gonna move on. We talked about DOT enough. So local ordinance on display, right? You will be conducting events in various locations throughout the state. Each city may have different ordinances that dictate what you can display during your event. These restrictions may be related to the size of the signage, the content that you may include in the displays, or any number of other restrictions. Does anybody have a good example of that? Yes, Arn.
Running a track vehicle down the middle of the roadway.
Running a track vehicle down, tell me about that.
We have Emporia, Kansas will actually allow us to drive our M1 tank down the street for their Veterans Day parade.
Nice.
That is,
That's about the only place that's ever allowed us to do that.
Fantastic.
so
That's really great. Anything else? Yes, sir.
I was showing looped videos on a computer screen during a career fair,
Okay.
and the administration came by and said that because it contained images of firearms, things like that, we had to take it off. So luckily I had the Silent Drill DVD that I was able to do, and twirling weapons weren't like firing weapons. So
Gotcha.
we were okay with that, but
Yeah.
kind of a huge kibosh on a lot of things.
The good news is you had a backup plan,
Right.
right? But if you would have known that ahead of time, then you would have been more prepared, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So we do this event called Seafair, and we have this prime location to be able to put a Black Hawk and like 3 different vehicles for display.
Okay.
And the event was good with it. We weren't gonna have to pay anything extra, but there's a group in the King County region that if any helicopter flies over a house, your place of business, a place that you rent, you're authorized to request the name of that pilot, why they were on that mission, where they departed, where they lived, their address,
Whoa.
like personal information.
Right.
So because there was an individual who requested it, and it's part of the law that you have to give it to them, we decided to cut it out.
Right,
We
because
didn't want
PII,
that.
right?
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. And you knew this ahead of time, well in
We did.
advance?
We did,
Okay.
but we didn't think that going over, so like we were ended up gonna flying through the Puget Sound coming in,
Okay.
but there was like just that tiny little dock that contains like 3 restaurants,
Mhm.
and one of those restaurants requested it.
Wow. So you had to protect the pilot's PII, right? Yep. Okay. Anything else? Local regulatory guidance? Yeah, some city, go ahead, Sarn.
The yard signs,
Okay.
at least in Maine and in some areas, each town has its own where you're allowed to put them to advertise your event or business. Not at intersections, not on certain lands or islands
Wow.
or anything. Which is one of the biggest things, because they always ask for the yard signs. I'm like, all right, well, you gotta check with your local ordinances to make
Right.
sure you're putting it in correctly. Because there'll
Right.
be times people go in and like pull them out of the ground when they're not.
Sounds like my HOA. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of restrictions out there locally that you won't know until you do your research, right? So it's important to do that, preparing and planning ahead of time. Definitely with signage too. I know I've seen more recently to where they have like these big vehicles and they have like signs that roll up and they like continuously change.
They have digital ones.
Yep,
too.
Digital too?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a way to circumvent the system.
Hawaii, you can get it a fine just for putting up a banner because they consider it a billboards and we don't have billboards in Hawaii. So they'll call the recruiter and say, you need to take down your cemetery and you're going to get a fine.
Just for a banner.
Mhm.
Like if you hang a banner on a fence or something. Wow. Important stuff to know. Yes, Arndt?
yeah, so, going to like old school advertising, a recruiter was going by the college and putting, flyers on the windows. And the college police came and picked them up and told them like, you need to stop or we're gonna get you for, littering, cause,
Yeah, Callie don't play.
yeah, and, you know, the soldier, the recruiter was just trying to do his thing, but I felt bad.
Wow. It's important to know. It's important to know. Okay, any other local regulatory guidance? Any other examples? No? Let's talk about New York. New York City Parks Department regulation that states no person shall distribute, display, transport, carry, or construct any flag, banner, sign, emblem, model, device, pictorial representation, or other matter within any park or park street for advertising or political purposes, nor for the same purposes shall any person display by means of aircraft, kite, balloon, aerial bomb, or any other device, and flag, banner, sign, or any other material above the surface of any park or street. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, our recruiters down there, some of them are savages. You know, when you have an AO where you got millions of people that walk through certain areas, they request a lot of banners.
Right.
And sometimes those banners are taken down in a day or 2 days, but get so many impressions, you know, going through that area that depends on if it's worth it, you know, and if your office ends up getting a phone call, you know, maybe you gotta stop doing that activity, but if you're getting all those impressions in a day, you know,
Right.
depending on the AO, we definitely supply them with a lot of banners.
So sometimes it's worth the risk.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Getting arrested or a ticket, you know?
Right.
Risk reward.
Especially when you have like those really high traffic areas in New York City, right?
Right.
It's worth the risk. You gotta mitigate the risk.
GPC swipe for city fines.
I didn't hear that.
My office is yet to receive it. As soon as we'll deal with that if it comes, you know, but as of now, you know, I don't have any control directly over the recruiters.
Right.
That's the company command's decision, but as long as they keep requesting stuff from our office, we'll keep providing it unless
Roger.
that becomes an issue in the future.
And I mean, you advise them of the local guidance, right?
Right, yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, we do what we can to abide by the local laws and regulations, right? Because that's part of our job as well.
Absolutely.
When you know better, you do better. Okay. So what about PMCSing?
Very important.
Very important. Tell me about it, Sarn.
It's equipment. You need to maintain your equipment. This is taxpayer dollars were used to buy this equipment, so we have to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely.
So to do that, you need to prolong the life of your equipment. But at the same time, use rock walls as an example.
Yes.
Those are a cash cow.
Mm-hmm.
They eat up money all the time for the maintenance. They're in the weather all the time and everything else. So
Right.
sometimes it is more cost effective to not repair them, just replace them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because failure to PMCS your equipment can drastically have an impact on your marketing event. Do we agree?
Yes.
How so?
The rock wall is a good example.
Yes, it is.
So,
Continue,
yes,
Sarn.
you could not be able to lift it up. The hydraulics could be messed up. because of
Roger.
Failure to PMCS. The rocks for people to climb up on could be loose, and then now
That's
you've
a
got
big
a
one.
hazard. A kid goes up there and they slip and fall and hit their head on the ground and.
That's a big one. I mean, we have the liability waivers, but still, it doesn't look good.
Exactly.
Roger, absolutely. So as a part of planning and preparation for your marketing events, you can't forget about the PMCS. Cool? That's just what it boils down to. It's very important. Okay, let's see. Oh, personnel. Personnel to work the request, right? You should be aware of the type of event that you are conducting. Know what type of personnel you will need and how many you will need to support your event. Roger?
Roger.
Any horror stories, any lessons learned from that? Failure to prepare and plan for your personnel. Yes, sir.
No, we got an obstacle course, and don't do the obstacle course by yourself, so.
Right. Right.
ROTCs are great because you got a whole squad of them kids to put that thing up, but yeah, no.
Absolutely. Set up, tear down to actually run the event. What about the professionalism
Yes.
of those? Go ahead, sir.
I can speak on that, sorry. So, I had some freshly graduated Marines that came with me to set up.
Oh,
And I walked away from the table, and when I come back, they had a full circle around them. They were telling some pretty gritty, basic training stories.
Great.
which were a little bit less than flattering for.
Who was your audience at that time?
At that point in time, it were juniors and seniors primarily for high school.
Oh my goodness. So that could have created an issue with administration too? Probably got you kicked off the campus? Uh-huh. Yeah, definitely. So you want to make sure that the personnel that you choose to work these events is a good fit. That's what I'll say. And what about the appearance? Because this is marketing and advertising. We got to talk about it. It's real. Yes, Arn.
Oh gosh. All right. So I have a huge pet peeve with like uniform issues at events.
Okay.
Right? My recruiter's really good about putting it on social media. But yeah, it makes us look like crap, right? Because when the Army's there, the Army Reserves are there, right? And your guard guys are walking around without tops on, or they're mixing uniforms, right? Or like our state has yet to put a uniform policy that allows us to wear the guard T-shirt with the pants, right? So
Okay.
you can't mix civilian clothes. I mean, just you can't wear RPI to begin with, but even if you do, you can't mix civilian clothes with this uniform.
Roger.
So, yeah, if they work for me on my team, it's almost grounds for instant termination. If they're a recruiter, it's a sergeant major visit.
Okay.
We look like crap.
So there's some repercussions.
Yeah.
So how do you plan and prepare for that?
My team counseling, continuous counseling. Like it's a culture thing on my team. With the recruiters, it's during the quarterly training, just expressing the importance of like, hey, you have to look the part, right? And
Absolutely.
not even look the part, but we have a standard. You have to abide by that standard, whether you're a recruiter or mechanic.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely, I would agree. Yes, Arn.
It's communication. It all starts with communication.
There you go.
You can either submit and I'm going back to operational mindset, an op order about the event, or you can send out an email, give you all the W's, talk about the uniform and everything else, and now you've got it in a document, and there is no
I like it.
getting away from it. It's
Paper
black and white.
trail. It's taking an extra step, but it's well worth it because if you establish the standard from the beginning, when you're planning and preparing, then it mitigates a lot of risks of somebody showing up with 2 different uniforms on, right? Okay. All right. Is there anything else that we need to take into consideration about the personnel? We want them to look like a soldier, behave like a soldier. What else? What else is important? What's the main reason why we have these marketing events? Lead generation, right? So what do you think your personnel need to, what kind of qualities and skills do they need to have? Personality. Even if they don't know how to recruit per se, you don't want them to be a fish dead in the waters just standing there, right? Twiddling their thumbs, waiting for someone to come up to the table. Go ahead, Sarn.
They should know talking points.
There you go.
They need to know about the organization. You can't sell an organization or anything if you don't know about it.
Or if you don't believe in it.
Correct.
Yes, absolutely. So you want to make sure they have the right attitude as well, that they're going to be a good representation of our organization, and also that they speak highly of our organization. I told you all in my last class, when I was a recruiter starting off doing high school presentations, I just needed a body. That's how I looked at it. Hey, let me ask Joe Schmo, hey, Sarn, you want to come with me to a high school presentation? Nightmare. Nightmare. These soldiers are up there like this, chewing gum. Yeah, it's kind of boring one week in a month, but you get paid for it, so hey. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Yes, Arn.
So another thing is experience.
Yes.
You could have, you've got a select soldiers that you have, hey, I know this group has just completed basic and AIT.
Yes.
I've got this group that has completed a state active duty mission. This group has done SPP. This group has done numerous deployments and these MOSs. So you have a pool that you can pick from to use to address your target audience.
Exactly. So knowing your audience, that's the first thing. Knowing who your audience is going to be. So if you have an event where it's going to be a lot of COIs and VIPs, then you may want to have your seasoned soldiers, the ones who have the most experience, have experienced deployments and things like that. But if you have a younger audience, you want to get some younger soldiers because they're the relatability factor, right? They're not going to listen to somebody that looks like the grandpa. They may, but it probably not so much. Yes, Arn.
To touch on the relatability relatability.
Yes.
We've had one recruiter ask for my marketing personnel specifically because he knew they graduated from one of his high schools.
Awesome
He
point.
knew some of the sophomores still and juniors still. So he's like, that was the best event he had when they went with him because people knew them, came up, talked.
Yeah.
And
Good point. Relatability. Hey, I went here. I grew up in this neighborhood. There's not many opportunities. How you plan on paying for college? That's a good opener, right? Yes.
So, I'm gonna caveat to that. I actually was involved in an event like that at a high school, the high school I went to.
Okay.
Recruiter was asking for people to come in and talk to the students about it. And
Yes.
when I went in that classroom and told them exactly who I was, and I was in their same shoes, sitting in the same desk numerous years ago, their eyes perked up.
Right.
And the teacher the class I was in remembered me when I was there.
Wow.
So, yes, that is huge. If you have that connection with them, and those students or recruits can make that connection with you, you've already got an in with them.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Because they look at you as like, well, hey, if he can do it, I can do it, right? Another relatability scenario is gender. It is what it is, right? If you're going to a Girl Scouts meeting or something like that, it's a good idea to take someone that looks like those girls. Roger? Because if they look at her and say, oh, wow, if she can do it, I know I can do it. Check? So having the correct personnel to fit your target audience, super important in planning and preparing. Do we all agree? Cool? Okay. So you will also need to identify and or produce the resources that will be needed for the event. When identifying the resources for the event, backwards plan to account for the time. It will take to procure the resources or coordinate with the necessary personnel. Some other So let's think about this when we're backwards planning. Print. What do we think when we say print? What are some of the things that we need to plan and prepare for?
Trifolds,
Bailouts.
stuff, different things, business cards, make sure you have plenty of those.
Absolutely.
Folders, if you want to give them an informational piece in addition to the trifolds, hey, here's some information about X state. This is what we're all about and stuff like that.
Great. So having something that you can physically hand out. Business cards. I can't tell you, when I first was a recruiter, oh my goodness, I had everybody texting me because I didn't have any business cards. It was overwhelming. Yes, Arndt?
But that works though. You know why? You get that phone number and the person don't even realize that they just gave up their name and phone number to the recruiter.
Cool. Can work, yeah.
It'll work both ways.
It can, absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to talk about digital in more detail coming up. Print. What else in terms of print? We talked about business cards, handouts. I heard banners. Who said banners? Why is that important?
Well, depending on the event, a lot of the recruiters require custom graphics.
Okay.
And that takes a lot more time, depending on staffing and how busy it is. During the summertime is the busiest time. So we always ask that they give us as much lead time as possible, include any graphics in the email that they want put into the banner. And the banners also take the longest to print. So we have 2 powder printers, but that takes a long time to get all of that,
Yep.
designing it and printing it and then shipping. Because New York's such a big state, we actually ship the print materials to the recruiters so it's there in time for the events.
Wow.
If they can pick it up and they're local, we let them, but
Right.
it's just you need to have that lead time.
So you have to backwards plan for that additional time it would take for them to receive their materials via mail.
Right.
Absolutely. Someone had a hand up? Yes, Arndt?
Yeah, so with print, for events that we're hosting, either at the marketing level or assisting a recruiter with, what's the intent of that print, right? Like, what's our call to action? Is it a social media RSVP? Is it a phone number? Is it, and then having a constant message across if we do like a mail out with a flyer, with a trifold.
So the consistency.
So we drive them to the same place.
Gotcha. Absolutely. So by show of hands again, who has a person that is solely committed to graphic design in their marketing cell? Okay, so that's probably like less than half of y'all. Okay. So when it comes to producing graphics for printed materials, for those of you who don't have one, how do you combat that? How do you plan and prepare for that? Ooh, it got quiet. Yes, sir.
I usually take it on, or I don't have a dedicated graphics person, but I do another ADOS that works for me. So I just will communicate to the recruiters that I have 2 separate request timelines for either advertising or an event that's general or generic, and then if you want something custom, you know, it's built into our op-tempo, probably an additional 10 days to give us time in order to produce that, QC it, and get it out for you, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead, Sarn.
GPO Express, send it over there to them. They got designers and stuff. They could kind of manipulate stuff to fit your needs.
Mm-hmm. And what's the turnaround time usually for that?
Oh, I got something back in like two business days.
Really?
And then, yeah.
Okay.
They just need a rough something to work with, and then they have been compiling stuff I've been sending them, so they have a kind of like a storage already of files that we sent over to them. That they try to work with us within the guidelines.
Within the guidelines. All right. So that was the point of what I was getting at, right? Because if you need something created from scratch, what branding guidelines do you follow? Because you all know that we just revamped the whole Army National Guard branding. We got a new logo and everything. So how are you all dealing with that if you don't have the graphics designer locally?
Brand portal.
Brand portal. Who does not have access to the brand portal? By a show of hands. Good. Fantastic. So everybody has access to the brand portal. Great. So what type of things do we find in the brand portal?
Like your vector logos for vendors, photos, generic photos probably produced by SRC or nationally, PowerPoint, like layouts, letterhead layouts.
Fonts for vendors.
Fonts, exactly. Because the more information you give the vendor, the less chance they have of messing it up, right?
Yep.
And having to
Color
redo it.
codes.
Color codes. Absolutely, absolutely. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a special guest here today from Forest Marsh. Everyone's familiar with Forest Marsh,
No.
right?
Social
No?
media newsletter.
Oh, boy. Well, we're going to get familiar with it today. Okay, this is Julie Whitcomb. Everyone, welcome Julie. She's going to be here just to field questions and give you further insight. So she had something that she wanted to add.
Yeah, hi everyone. I write the weekly newsletters and I've been on this contract for 2.5 years. I've met many of you, I've trained many of you, I've spoken to many of you on the phone. I'm really happy to be here. Just building off of what everyone's already shared, there is a free tool. It's also a free app called Canva. I would highly recommend, if you do not have a dedicated designer on staff, if you do not pay for Adobe Creative Cloud to use Photoshop or InDesign, get Canva, create a free account. You can create templates for newsletters, even social media posts if you'd like, one-pagers, all kinds of things. And of course, we want to adhere to guidelines through the brand portal and colors and fonts and everything like that. There's ability to customize in Canva. So just a tool to recommend and keep in your back pocket.
Let's write that down on our board. Canva. Canva.
Pan or pan?
Panned. The N is silent.
Pan.
The N is silent. Classic.
CANVA.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
She said Canva or pan? I can't remember.
CANVA.
All right, it's going to be up on the board.
That marker size.
We need a new marker. Oh yeah, what color is that?
Put that in there.
Orange? Orangish? Okay, so I'm trying to pull up something here. It's gonna take a sec.
CANVA.
CANVA, everybody taking notes? That's fantastic. All right, so before we jump into digital, because that's gonna be multiple layers within digital, right? So let's discuss paid or non-paid advertising. What form of advertising are you going to be using to promote the event? How far in advance do you want to start advertising? And what coordination will be required for paid and non-paid advertising? What do we think? How do you promote your event with paid and non-paid without getting yourself in trouble?
Depending on the event first. If it's a high school event, you can promote it for free through the high school. They have their own social media, and you can do it on your own social media and stuff.
Okay, so that's non-paid. Yes, aren't?
Non-paid, you can request NCSA, or through, and you can write a script, or to develop a script for the event.
Yes, absolutely. So what she said is that you go through a national marketing advertising campaign, which is the NCSA, non-commercial sustainment program. Okay, NCSA. All right. So who's familiar with the NCSA? Ish. So what NCSA does, it provides you all with commercial and television advertising, right? And the way that we utilize this program at the state level is to create custom radio scripts that will be advertised in your local areas to promote certain events or certain benefits or incentives that you all have. Who's utilized this program before? Tell me about it, Sarn.
Yeah, so we did a college planning night, which was essentially a GuardX, but with a specific focus. We did it on the Google Forms, we submitted our script. Actually, I think within 2 days, I can't remember her name, but.
Sarn Baez?
Yeah,
Sarn
she reached
First
out
Class
over phone and said, your script's ready. She sent it back to us. Our local SBA had it produced within like 24 hours, I think, and it was on the radio. Actually, it was extremely beneficial because there's like, everybody thinks radio advertising is dead, but we probably got more impressions on that. People were like, yeah, I heard about that event, which was our intent with it. We had the simple call to action, like visit us on Facebook, but our goal is really just to get the verbal word out. So super easy and huge, like within a week from submission to request to completion. So, which I was surprised with at the national level, like, no offense, but I was like, no way that came back in a week. So
Great. So how far in advance did you have to plan for this?
that was 3 weeks.
3 weeks prior to your event?
No, 3 weeks prior to the submission. So we had to produce a script. We worked with our Association of Broadcasters on the script production, and then we submitted it anticipating, we were probably still a month out from the event.
Okay.
We were anticipating a 2 to 3 week turnaround.
Okay.
So.
Wow. So for, you said about 30 days prior to your event, you had this customized radio script about your event in your local area being broadcasted every day on the radio.
Yep.
That's the intent. That's the intent. Anybody use it for a state-specific benefit? So if you all have a state-specific benefit, such as Pennsylvania, is Pennsylvania here? Pennsylvania. You just had a new education benefit pass. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the Military Family Education Program, it's basically EAP, except you can pass it on to a spouse or a child. So in Pennsylvania, our EAP is 100% tuition at all the state schools. So it's the first institution to do that, so it's actually pretty groundbreaking.
Pretty groundbreaking. Do you think that would get some attention if that's broadcasted in your local areas? Absolutely. So you can request through the NCSA program to have a customized radio script created. And you can tell them that you want it publicized for 6 months, the entire year, however long. And the reason why it makes such an impact on your local communities is because it'll be a local radio personality that creates it. So not only are you getting our message out, you're utilizing a local celebrity to push it out for free. Doesn't come out of your marketing funds at all. So that's a way to use a non-paid advertising. Cool? Yes, Sarn.
How do we get a hold of them?
How did you get a hold of them, Sarn? How'd you do that?
Well, they sent out an HRR message off, I believe, on the SharePoint or their GKO page. And she sent the link, and I have her point of contact. She's also listed on the GKO advertising page as well.
Roger. So you just send a request through the SharePoint. It's just a Google form, It basically just has the 5 W's on there, just asking whether it's a benefit or an incentive or an event, and you just put the information in there. You tell them where it's going to be, when, and you can expect anywhere from 48-hour turnaround to a week, depending on what they have going on. Yes, sir?
Is it technically free because we opt into that? Each state opts into that?
I will say this.
I'm not going to say how much California opts into it.
So I would say it's not an additional cost. Like you're
Okay,
not
gotcha.
paying for the actual advertising of that specific event.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I got you.
You tracking? That's
Yeah.
good. That's all right. Keeping me on my toes.
You said
It's good.
free. I was like, oh, I don't know about free.
Free-ish, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
When it's gonna be played,
You can. So that's another thing that you need to. So you submit the request through NGB, through SARM Bias, to get it created. Now it's up to you to get with your local state broadcasters association rep and have that conversation. Say again.
So the NC whatever.
NCSA.
Then you have to also be contact the broadcast.
The Broadcast Association work with the NCSA program. Like it's all one. But each state, all 50 states, have their own SBA, which is the State Broadcasters Association rep. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's up to you to cultivate that relationship because they can do everything from getting live on-air interviews on the radio and the TV to publicizing these radio commercials for you. Yes, Arn?
So if we don't opt in CSA, we could still go through the SBA
Negative. You have to opt into the program.
to use the SBA, period?
Yes.
So there is no other option for radio or television advertising other than CSA, period?
Not true, not so. So a lot has changed in the regulation, and we'll delve into the weeds a little bit more when we talk about national advertising programs, okay? Yes.
And the SBA is the one who decides the station that it's played on. Because we do have an advertisement that runs, but it runs on a station that my grandfather would probably listen to, and it is the only station that it runs on, because when I have my daughter in the car, I do listen to the radio. That's the
Gotcha.
only time.
Okay.
But it'll play on that station.
That's when you need to have those one-on-one conversations
the
with your
SBA.
SBA.
Okay.
Absolutely. Those are the conversations that you need to have. Because if you're having issues like that, where you're like, this isn't reaching our target audience, those are the things that we need to know. And once you talk to your SBA and you're finding that you're still encountering these same issues, that's when you get Sergeant First Class Baez involved, because she's the program manager for that program. Yes, Arn?
I just wanted to say, DC used it, and it was such a smooth, easy process.
Tell us about it, Arn.
Well, we had an event with our local band, and they just wanted to put out that we're doing a series of events, and it was just an easy process.
Okay.
My question is, how often can we use it?
However often you need it. Yes, there's no limitation on how often you can use it. That's the purpose of the program. We want you to use it for the entire fiscal year. Not just once. Continuously use it. That's what it's there for. And like, say for instance, you have your events calendar, right? Your marketing events calendar. Start plugging it in. 30 to 45 days out from each event. Start putting in those requests. That's what we want you to do. Yes, Arn?
Another question, because I just don't even know about radio.
Okay.
Could you target the same way we do with digital ads, the way you do with radio, in regards to, no? Like
So,
if we had-
radio is actually very targeted. Like the people that listen to the Steve Harvey Morning Show versus on a rock station,
Right.
it is targeted to certain audiences. So you have to get with your SBA because they're the subject matter experts. They know which one of the radio stations will reach your target audience. Yes, Arn?
There was also, if you can get into Jammers, there was a Jammers report that showed the preferred radio station or genre of music based on the sessions within each branch. So like for me, National Guard sessions listen to country music more, so we push for more country stations to air our ads.
Yes, especially.
So we've started working with iHeartRadio over this last year, and iHeartRadio has basically bought out 90+% of all the traditional radio stations in the country. So when we run an advertisement with iHeartRadio, it's one going on their streaming app, but it's also being ran on the like traditional, in the traditional radio spot as well. And they can target much more specifically, obviously in the like traditional radio space of, hey, we know the demographic that you're looking for is this one country station. So it's gonna run locally, but then also anybody who's streaming can be, you kind of double dip of like, the streaming audience is even more targeted. Hey, I want 17 to 30-year-olds, and then in this area, then you're not even limiting yourself to just a station. Then you're getting the local station as well as all streamers in your area.
So that's paid, an example of paid advertising
Yes.
for radio. Awesome.
I heard.
Yes, sir.
So how does that go with the SBA? Because
Completely
Yeah, we
separate.
don't-
Completely separate.
Not used, it's not.
Yeah, it's completely separate.
Now, you could technically use the, what is it,
NCSA.
and CSA to get a script written and utilize that script through whatever streaming service or iHeartRadio or something like that, but, yeah,
Completely separate programs.
the media's buying.
You had something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so if you're, I have a really good working relationship with my SBA. And like, when we came up on that event, they, just cause we get, our slots are so sporadic, right, as far as donated airtime, you can actually request for them to take other advertisements out of circulation. So like, we had a specific time that we were running this advertisement, and I said, hey, like, I'd like to clear as much of those to not play during this time, so therefore I have a higher chance of my targeted advertisement playing.
Roger.
And we were able to make that happen, so.
Roger. And that happens at your level.
Yeah.
Your level with your state broadcaster representative. I saw another hand. Yes, sir.
I was just gonna say for some of the soldiers in here that haven't really used the program much, so that they are being paid by NGB to be your asset in your state, you know, so definitely build that relationship with your SBA. And also, what you can do to target specific areas is, you know, look at your high lows, high DoD enlistments, low Army National Guard enlistments, correlate that with your unit vacancies, and then create a list of all the areas that you want to target for those ads. And then bring that to your SBA and explain to them, you know, you want to make sure that your ads are playing in those areas.
Getting
Sounds
into
like
the
a marketing plan right there.
getting into the weeds. I like it. I like it. All right. So let's move on. We ready to move on? Let's talk about PPI, RPI, RRRPI. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of things that we call the same thing. But in essence, what is a PPI? Say again? What is a PPI? Promotional item, right? That's something with our logo on it, with our call to action that we can physically give to a COI, VIP, prospect, right? It's something physical, tangible that we can hand off. So how do we prepare for a marketing event when it comes to PPI, RPI, RRPI?
Identify your audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you're going to meet with COIs and VIPs, do you think it's great to have little foam footballs? Probably not so much.
And I'll
Yes,
give you
sir.
an example. We dove into the esports arena a little bit, attended a esports event recently, and we had the Oculus devices out there, we had the cardboard devices, we had the rubber bracelets, we had some other small PPI items that they could take and try to relate to the age group that was there.
Absolutely. So going back to knowing who your target audience is or who you anticipate your audience to be at this marketing event. That's step one, right? Okay. Yes, sir.
Knowing what type of items may or may not be allowed at your venue or event.
Good, good. Give me an example.
So we did a contract with our Scholastic Sports Association to go to every single state event. So we were going to buy, you know, mini basketballs, mini footballs, mini volleyballs. And they said, no, like you can't give those out because they're considered a projectile because the students will throw them on the court.
Wow.
So we couldn't do that.
So that's good to know.
Yeah.
That'll help you plan because you didn't want to purchase all these PPIs and then you can't even use them when you get there. That would have been bad. Yes, Arndt?
Have a plan for your RPI, right? So, like I really challenge the NCOICs, if we're doing an event, because we used to do like the wish list system, which just meant if the recruiter asked for it, they got it. We spent a lot of money on RPI, would see very little ROI from some of these events. So we really challenge them like, hey, so these items, you know, if they're not event specific, if they are, if they're out of your own inventory, you know, like what's your table stuff, like what's your engagement stuff, right? For the college planning night, we did notebooks, right? And that was essentially like, here's your registration form and a little AR card and a notebook. So making more of less and then just having a plan for it.
Absolutely. So this is when you really rely on who to give you an idea of the type of PPI that they should be having for the event. The recruiters, right? You really got to dig into the weeds a little bit with your recruiters and say, okay, what are you thinking is going to give us the most ROI? Because you don't want to just buy random stuff and say, here you go for your event, because it may not address or attract your target audience. Yes, Arn?
I literally just sent out staff assessments to my NCOs to do that, go through their events, find out what RPI they want, plus RPI for throughout the year. So gauging it off of like a tier 1, 2, 3 event, so
Okay.
3 to 5, whatever.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And you do this when? What time of
I
year?
just sent it out now so I can look at what I'm going to try and request for funds for next year.
All right, that's great planning. Way far ahead of time. Absolutely. Anything else when it comes to PPI planning and preparing? So just knowing the target audience, making sure you get the right PPI. What about the amounts?
Yes.
Amount of PPI. Why is that important to plan for that? What do y'all think? For a specific marketing event, why would it be important to plan for the correct amount?
Because you have other marketing events you got to worry about as well. You don't want to throw all your cookies in one jar. You
Absolutely.
need to disperse them out.
Absolutely, because you know if you have way more than enough, you're going to get real generous with those PPIs. Like, here, you get a lanyard, you get a lanyard, right? Yes, Arn?
Yeah, so this event that we just ran, the college planning, we purchased notebooks, we purchased essentially double the quantity that we thought we would need. What we did is we didn't put a date on the notebook. So therefore, when we run a similar event, because it's going to be a twice a year biannual event, we've already purchased enough, depending on the interest, to where we cut down that lead time.
Smart. I like it. So if you buy a whole bunch of 2020 notebooks, it's kind of a waste if you don't hand them all out, right?
Correct.
Big waste. Okay.